Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gayle Carson, that's Gayle, Gayle Carson 13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter.
Hi, everyone. Our guest today is someone who is a master craftsman photographer. She's an award-winning PPA Master Craftsman Photographer, and her name is Luci Dumas. And Luci has enjoyed a successful, profitable, and creatively satisfying full-time career for over 36 years. She's called the Baby Whisperer and photographs children, families, and weddings in San Diego. Her superpower is selling 3 to 8 wall portraits and albums to almost every client. A teacher at heart, she also has a coaching and training business, Insight Training for Photographers, and loves supporting other talented photographers and creatives who are passionate about creating the business of their dreams, or just want to make a great business even more successful. Welcome, Luci.
Thank you, Gail. So excited to be on your show today.
Well, I've got you being in business a lot longer than you are, but what is it that stands out from your 36 years? I mean, we are talking about this show of women in business, and you've lasted 36 years in a very, very tough field.
Yes,
So,
it is.
what do you think has been your secret or your magic?
Well, I listened to it's probably on NPR, a show where they did all kinds of tests to find out what makes people successful. And they looked at age, ethnicity, education, advantages, lack of advantages, where they lived. And the person being interviewed said it all boiled down to grit. And that just really hit it for me that my middle name is relentless. When I am committed to something, I'm all in all the time. And because yes, you're absolutely right. It is a very competitive field. One thing I did is I did not spend a lot of time looking at what other people were doing, especially if I didn't know whether or not they were successful. But I took an attitude that I am not in competition with anybody but my own best self.
And that is true, and that's a very big lesson to learn, Luci, because we compare ourselves to other people. We look at other people. We say, oh, we're not making as much money as they are, or we're not doing the same kind of business or whatever. But I'm sure you've learned some really important lessons over 36 years. So, first of all, I would say, years ago, when you started 36 years ago, I know when I started 60 years ago, there were practically no women in business. So when you started 36 years ago, were there many women photographers or were you unique?
So in my local photography association, there were 2 other women and 100 men. And those 2 women had been wives of photographers, discovered they had a talent, and between you and me, Gail, I think the husbands were jealous and led to the divorce, and the women starting their own businesses.
So in each case, the women got divorced.
Right, and started their own businesses. So they already had a foundation, and I was kind of treated a combination of a mascot and, pain in the, uppity. Like years later, I heard that certain guys would call me kind of bad names, a BB women's liver, a busting women's liver. And so I did feel, it was a challenge. Took me 6 years to get on the board, whereas a new male photographer would join the association and be voted in immediately to be on the board if he volunteered. But I didn't let that worry me. I learned from the guys, and I made my own way, and I knew that I could do this. And I also really championed women to join the industry. Something that I started with a group of women in the industry. Many of them were the wives. And this is, let's say, about 5 years in, when a few more of my gal pals started joining. So we started a group to meet together and support each other like women do, where we didn't brag, we didn't tell untruths about our success. We shared our struggles, we shared our forms, how we did sales, things like that. So I think that really helped me grow, as well as to gather a group of like-minded people around me and support them, as well as gaining support. And this group, by the way, Gayle, is still around. I'm the longest member, but we now have 60 members, and we had to put a cap on it because we meet in each other's homes, and we don't want to have to rent a place to meet. So it's still thriving, which I'm super proud and excited about.
Wow. So really, some of the obstacles that you faced was there was a bias in the industry, but
Totally.
really the bias was the bias on the customer end or only on the male photography end?
Well, if I showed up at a wedding, for example, and I did weddings my first 10 years primarily, and I had a male assistant, frequently people would go to him to look for leadership, or say, oh, the bride's ready, or things like that. I think, though, because photography, which now is has definitely leaned towards more women in the portrait and wedding business, women are the clients, and it's a very personal, emotional service. So I think I did land many jobs because I'm a woman, and that made the brides feel comfortable and the moms feel comfortable. So I'd say the bias was more in the industry.
I would think so, because if someone can do a good job, that's what they're very interested in. Now, from what I understand, though, you you operate out of your home. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so you have this really charming 1911 bungalow,
hmm
and it's very historical. And you said for the children, it feels like Aunt Lucy's house.
Right.
So, how do you set things up in your home? Do you have different kind of backdrops? Do you have people bring props? Do you use your own props? What do you do for ideas in terms of that capacity?
Well, so my residential studio, I'm fortunate that I have space both in an apartment above my garage, a little granny flat, and then I have a room just when you come in the front door. Um, I sweep my clients into the room on the right. It's not an open concept. The older homes had lots of little rooms. So I do my sales and my planning sessions in that room, and that room is dedicated to my photography. So the large portraits on the wall are not of my family; they're of clients' work. And then for over 20 years, I used the apartment above my garage as my studio. So I had backgrounds and props and uh, all the goodies up there, so that I didn't have to use a space in my home. And at a consultation, I always sit with clients and we plan what we're going to do. Sometimes they may want to bring a special prop or a little child's chair. When I was using my studio a lot, it's when I was doing lots and lots of babies and little kids. And so if they had grandma's rocking chair from when she was a child, they would bring that. But my work, as I matured in my skills and in my own style, I got simpler and simpler and simpler because people are so beautiful that having a lot of extra stuff around to me is not necessary. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, in your 36 years, what has changed in the photography business? What have you had to adapt to?
Okay. Well, first of all, the other day, because in a Facebook group, someone was saying, "Oh my gosh, there's so much competition around me." Yeah, I Googled, and there's like 5 other pet photographers in my city. That
Pet,
was
you said pet photographers?
Yes, this was a post on a pet Facebook group.
Okay, so you do pets as well, is what you're saying.
No, but I coach a lot of people that do pets.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I thought I'm gonna just Google my zip code on the map and see how many photographers show up. Guess how many, Gail?
I can't even imagine.
887
No, you got to be kidding me.
in my zip code.
887
Yes,
photographers?
within a 5-mile radius, if that.
Well, you don't know them all, and I'm sure they're not all places that people pass by.
No.
So how can there be so many of them?
Because we have a joke in our community. Oh, look, it's December 26th. 1 million new professional photographers just were born. Meaning, it is so simple now to take a good photograph without knowing, photographers will understand this, an f-stop from a bus stop, meaning you don't have to know the technology, and easy to get a business card and to set up a free website. So there are umpteen zillion people who start a business. That doesn't mean they're succeeding. That doesn't mean they're getting work or making any income. But this is the huge change in the industry as the digital revolution and what I'll use this word lovingly because if there are photographers listening, there might be several of these that we call mom-tographers who who have children who do some beautiful photographs and want to make some additional income, and they start a business. So that's been it. The amount of competition, the bottom line in the story, the amount of competition has grown exponentially.
So how do you fight that?
Well, so what of these 887 in my neighborhood, there may be 3 of us that are actually serving clients one-on-one, creating a luxury experience, making prints. We call it in-person sales. It's sitting down and helping clients select their art and then printing it at professional photographic labs that do not serve the general public. So, so that's how I compete with that. And also, I don't spend a ton of time with social media marketing. I go out and find clients. My marketing and what I work with my coaching clients on is the going places where people will discover you that are our ideal clients.
So networking in the places where your ideal client would be.
Yes. Charity event, gift certificates. One of my most successful coaches or coaching clients. Her name is Erin Bonilla, and she's a pet photographer in Virginia Beach. She goes to art shows and pet shows. She sets up a booth and she does a drawing for a prize, and then also has a second place prize that she awards to many other of the people that have entered. And her business grew from minus $15,000 a year to last year she had hit her goal of 240,000, and it was only her third year in business, and she'd been working with me, during that time.
Well, I have to say, being a pet person,
Oh,
that people spend, I think, more money on their pets than they do even on their kids.
yeah,
So I can understand that because we are all, those of us in the pet loving place, we will do anything for our pets.
right.
So when you coach somebody, what are the things that you're coaching them on, Lucy? I mean, you coach them on sales techniques, you coach them on photography techniques, you coach them. What do you actually coach them on?
It's a very comprehensive program. So each person, depending what they need, that's where we focus. Overall, we're setting up a simple business plan with goals, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals. We're looking at who their ideal client is and where to find them. We're planning marketing, and marketing is such an ongoing and organic and huge endeavor that there's not just a checklist, do this, boom, you're successful. And help make sure their website is appealing, their pricing, that there's profit in their pricing. There's a psychology to pricing that makes it, my superpower of selling mini wall portraits per client. All the pricing, the sales system. I have a very strategic 5. I guess it's 5 lessons, 5 times to build the sale, starting with the phone call. And there are people who need help with photography, and so we can do some work in that. So, and one of the deeper things that has surprised me, Gail, as I've been coaching more and more, is how much the inner game impacts people's success.
It's so funny you mentioned that. Many of the people that I talk to on my shows are all stressing that mindset is so important. And of course, I have believed that. I have a program myself on mindset.
Ah,
So, I know how important it is. And um, people don't realize when they go into a business that, uh, how they think, how they approach life, how they approach the day, how they approach everything in life has an impact on how successful they are.
absolutely.
So it's interesting that you're teaching that in photography as well, because that is a creative and it's an art, and it's something that people don't normally think about, but it is so important. And it's interesting to see how many people who put themselves out there as photographers are not necessarily really that professional. They don't show up on time. You don't get your photographs on time. They don't give you what you contracted for. So there's a lot of, shall we say, fakes out there as well. So does your association, your women's association, when you get together, I know you don't have 60 women all at the same time, probably 20, 30 show up at a time,
Correct. Mhm.
but what do you talk about?
Well, what's happened in this group is we started out as women, San Diego Women in Professional Photography. I think that was our name or something like that. And we all were in the business. And over time, the industry became much more female friendly. So the group decided to also add opportunities to be creative together and do things that we would not either know how to do on our own or would not take the time to do. So we do have some business related classes, Photoshop classes, but we also do lots of fun things. Like we had models and horses on the beach.
Wow.
Dream come true.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, because when an artist decides to sell her work, then there's the selling what people are going to want. And so sometimes that inner drive, that passion, that creative play takes us aside, a second, you know what I'm saying, gets set aside to do the work that sells. So now this group takes time to do those things that were the reason we got in photography in the first place, because it's fun. We're passionate about it. And then for those of us who are professional as, let's say, portrait artists, as opposed to, we have a lot of now fine artists in the group that sell their work in galleries or, other ways. But those of us that are selling commissioned art to individuals, it does make our work more creative. And it also looks really great on our websites that we're, oh my gosh, she did models with horses on the beach. So, so that's how that has evolved. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but.
Well, it's interesting, and I know you have a free ebook. If anybody's listening who has maybe contemplated doing photography or has an interest in photography, you have an ebook that you'd like to give everybody who might want it, which is called the 10 Big Ideas for Marketing Wedding and Portrait Photography in the Real World. So if anybody out there is interested in learning about photography, either portrait or wedding, and how to market it, and what's really going on out there, if you go to Luci's website, which is Luci, and that's Luci Dumas DUMAS.com. If you go to LuciDumas.com, you'll be able to get that free ebook. So that's very generous of you, and we appreciate that. So
Gayle,
Luci,
I need to
yeah.
correct that.
Oh, it's LuciDumasCoaching.com.
Yes.
Okay.
If you want to see my photography and my photography business page, it's LuciDumas.com.
And you probably want to go there to see the kind of photography she does. But for her ebook, it's Luci Dumas, still LuciDumas, coaching.com. And there you'll find her 10 big ideas for marketing wedding and portrait photography in the real world.
Yes.
Anyway, we have just about 2 minutes left, Luci. What have we not talked about that you would like to tell our audience? Anything at all?
Oh gosh. I believe in you. If you have a dream, whatever it is, you can do it. The thing is to not give up, to learn, to grow, to do whatever it takes to make it work. And there's one other thing I wanted, is what I absolutely love about self-employment is it helps us become the best version of ourselves. So when we're running our own business, whatever our weaknesses and our strengths, we have a chance to grow our strengths and to refine and heal some of our fears and weaknesses. And then that makes our business better, which gives us new opportunities to grow as a person. So anyone that has their own business, I think you know what I'm talking about. It's exciting, it's scary. It is, like its own everyday personal growth workshop. So.
Yes, it is. And it's your own daily personal challenge.
Well,
yes. Well, that is so true. Well, Luci, it's been delightful. It's one thing I think it's very interesting. You talked about, everybody's taking photographs, but aren't the photographs, for example, that Kate Middleton takes of their kids? I mean, she does such a great job. Every photograph that I've ever seen, that she puts out on a yearly basis, she's done. So, many of you out there might just be interested in getting some coaching from Luci, or even getting her free ebook, because I think it could make a big difference in the photographs that you take. So
Mhm.
thank you for being with us, Lucia. We appreciate it, and we loved having you.
Thank you, Gail. You're so much fun, and I really admire everything that you do. So I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at gaylecarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbroad.com to see the resources I have for you.